WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Scotland, Signatory Vintage Longmorn Cask Strength Collection. 17 years old, distilled on the 17th of September 2002. Fun fact, 2001, the distillery Longmorn was bought. It used to belong to Seagram's, and Diageo and Pernod Ricard actually bought then Seagram's after the whole big incident back then in 2001. And Chev's brothers or Pernod Ricard were able to keep Longmorn, and they divided everything else up that big pie. All right, so this was actually distilled 1 year after Pernod Ricard took over, and it was bottled then on the 5th of June 2020. Now, what's very, very interesting is I have very few stores that actually have this whiskey at the moment. It's very, very new in the market, 57.3%. I paid about 124 euros and 90 cents, and it's whiskey base number 161961. So there's a total of 186 bottles. I have bottle number 170, and this was a bourbon barrel cask number 800621. A lot of numbers, I know. So I'm going to compare it with something. Also Longmorn. I think this is basically one of my favorite bottles that I ever had from the SMWS, Scotch Malt Whisky Society. This is a rummage in a handbag. This was 7, which is Longmorn .231. So I had 7.230 and 231, and both of those were fabulous. This was, and it says so, distilled on the 7th of September 2004. So 15 years later, it was bottled 2019, and it was from the first fill ex-bourbon barrel, which is very, very important, 59.9%. So, because this does not say first fill, and neither do I think it is a first fill. All right, so this is a neck pour. This is down to here. So, I did a bottle share. Some people have not yet actually picked up their samples, and therefore, yeah, that will happen the next few weeks, I hope. On the nose, I love this nose. Now, if I did not know better, I would have said, oh, look, it's a 30-year-old grain. If I did it blind and I wasn't aware of what I was tasting, it smells very, very light, like a wonderful, wonderful old grain. So I actually compared this to the bouquet of a bride at a wedding with white roses in there, and it's a very, very light smell. Over here, the other Longmorn, it's a little bit lighter, and yet there's a little bit more of an oakiness, not tannin, not bitterkeit, but a little bit of oakiness, a little bit more here. I don't know why I'm going to use this comparison. Let's talk about suntan lotion. Over here in Germany, my wife loves to use 30. So I usually go for a little bit less, around 10, maybe 12 or 15. And now the difference between the 10 and the 12, that's the difference between here, the 10 and the 12 of the oakiness. It's not the 30 yet, all right? So it's not that big, wow, bold. It's very, very light and subtle. This is very fragile whiskey anyways. Fragile as in very delicate. Delicate, fragile. Longmorn is something that I think it's a safe bet. If you have a good cask, first fill bourbon cask, you put it in there, you leave it in there for 15 years, and you take it out, boom, it's going to be excellent. Here you put it in probably a reused bourbon barrel, not first fill, and you leave it in there for 17 years old. You take it out and you go, oh yeah, that's a little bit more of that old wood than I thought it was going to be. Oh, I should have put it in a first fill barrel back then. That's one of the things you have to work on. Or maybe a hogshead would have been actually a perfect idea for this. A second fill hogshead, put it in there, just leave it in there for 20 some years and then enjoy. Longwood is one of those great distilleries that have a light but yet robust type of character. I love the vanilla here. I love the fruit fragrance. Even a little bit of bell pepper comes out. All right, cheers. What did I say? 57.3, 59.9. It skirts along the border, along that boundary of what the woodiness should be, in my personal opinion, in this longwood. The alcohol is a tiny little bit too present, a little bit too obvious, a little bit too powerful is not the word, but pushing. Just as a comparison, real quick, the rummage in a handbag. I've already done my German video, by the way, which means I've tried both of these already, and it's just about 5 to 10 minutes ago. And so my mouth is acclimated to the cask strength moment. Mmm. 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 What really kills me is how well integrated the 59.9% here is. Towards the end, a tiny subtle moment of alcohol. Here it's a little bit more. I bought this actually for 80 euros, and this is about 40 to 45 euros more. Yes, it's 2 years older. Yes, it's Signatory Vintage and not SMWS. I am not a great fan of SMWS. I had the the disprivilege of maybe buying too many of their bottles in a period of time. I was only a member for about a year, where they did not put out the best stuff ever. Let's put it that way. I'm going to give them a little bit of time. I'm going to give me a little bit of time, and I will go back one day and go back and test SMWS. But at the moment, the two of us are not in great speaking terms. Let's just put it that way. I've been disappointed many times by SMWS, and it's just trying to pick out that beautiful bottle. Is not where I bought over 20 bottles, and I think there was like 3 that I was like, oh, these are nice, and there was like 5 that were, well, okay, yeah, why not? And many of those are like, why? Okay, it's about Signatory Vintage. It's about Longmorn. No more ranting and raving here about SMWS. All right, with a little bit of water, it doesn't get much better. It dilutes it down a little bit, and that wood tannin bitterness. That was German, by the way. Anything that's a kite at the end is for the word for ness in English. So bitterness, not bitterkeit. A little bit of German lessons here again. Mm-hmm. It's a C. On a good day, I'd give it a C+, but I'm not really sure that it's a C+. I want to give it a C+. I want to say, wow, I spent 120 some euros on a great whiskey, and I must admit I spent 100 and some euros on a okay whiskey. Yeah. Value for money, more of a C-, maybe C-, actually. This is something that I'm not going to enjoy drinking. I only own 5cl of it. The rest is going to be gone through a bottle share, by the way. But still, I do love the bottle, that little flower vase here, the tin, real metal still, and so on, and the labels here. They actually use 2 different labels. This label is different than that label from the size of it. Am I talking blood? No, I'm not talking. I'm talking absolutely bullshit, which is a word I don't use often. They're exactly identical. Looking through the fluid here that was much wider, and that's why I assumed that it was not the same. Yeah, but there's just two labels here. They have the 170 here and the 170 there, and yeah. That's the way things are. My question of the day is from Signatory Vintage. What is your favorite bottling? And if you can't answer that, what is your favorite bottling from SMWS? And if you can't answer that, what is your favorite bottling from Longmorn? Now, I actually do own one of those infamous old 16-year-old bottlings from Longmorn, and I own a newer 16-year-old, which I'm going to actually compare the two of those one day. I don't know if I'll do it in my English video as well, but I will do it in my German video. and I will do a bottle share with those. And so some of my fans will actually have the opportunity to buy a sample of the old versus new of Longmorn 16, which is going to be awesome. All right, Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare, single cask in this case, and exotic whiskeys. Thank you very much for watching. All the best. See you soon.